Hi, this is Dr. Darren Schmidt at the Nutritional Healing Center of Ann Arbor, and I figured something out that's been tumbling around in my mind for more than 20 years. Since I figured out lactic acidosis 1 year ago, now everything's starting to make sense, and I'm talking about the alkaline diet. So this goes back decades, and what they did was they took food and burned it, and then they measured the pH of the ash. And they said, as a general rule, that meat, protein and grains and sugar are acidic. The ash is acidic. And then the fruit and vegetables are alkaline. Now, there's a lot of exceptions to these general rules right here. And what's interesting is that like lemons and citrus fruit, that's an acidic food, but when you burn it, the ash becomes alkaline. So what does that mean? Well, the theory doesn't hold water. And I think the confusion lies in lactic acidosis here. So when you have sugar being burned by cells as fuel, you get the 4 waste products that I talk about in a lot of my videos. But you also have this hydrogen that comes off of the process. That's acidic right there. So you can have like this acidic buildup in your body, and then your body's trying to get rid of the acid, and your tongue, your saliva pH is acidic, your urine pH is acidic. But the solution is not to take Tums, like an antacid. That's not the solution. And the solution is not to eat more like some vegetables, and do this alkaline diet. Like that's not the solution either. So I've talked about the solution already. You got to fix lactic acidosis. Quit using sugar as fuel. Get into ketosis, which is fat burning mode. Vegetable juices and vegetables will clean up these wastes. Make sure your liver's in good shape. You can detoxify. You can consume liver. And you want to address really all 3 of these. So now the acid that's formed from burning sugar has to be cleaned up by the body because the blood pH has to be it's in a really tight window. It's got to be around 7.4. That's alkaline. So you'll see doctors talk about the alkaline diet. There's a book called Alkalize or Die. Yeah, don't buy into that. So you want to prevent these excess acids coming off of lactic acidosis by stopping lactic acidosis. And remember, the other term for this is cachexia. Cachexia means bad habits. What's the bad habit? It's sugar, and cachexia is the disease, the death process. You got cancer cachexia, cardiac cachexia. Okay, so the alkaline diet doesn't make sense as described, but once you start to incorporate this term of lactic acidosis, now you can see why people think that acid is bad, because it is, all right, because of lactic acidosis. Now, I want to talk about lactic acidosis, the actual term. And I want to talk about lactate, lactose. What does all this mean? Because there's a lot of confusion on this. And somebody who posted on my YouTube channel, like, how can I clear up the confusion? So I'm going to do it right now. I'm actually going to start at the bottom of this. I wrote up a little glossary right here. So lactate is the salt of lactic acid. Now, that doesn't mean anything. I found this in a dictionary. Sometimes dictionaries will use a word to define another word, but the words are pretty much the same. So for what it's worth, lactate is the salt of lactic acid. Okay, so what is acid? Acid is of the taste of vinegar, sour, sharp, disagreeable. Okay, what's lactic? Lactic means obtained from sour milk. Okay, so lactic acid is a disagreeable taste that comes from sour milk. So I can imagine researchers, 80 years ago, examining this lactic acid from in a petri dish when bacteria were fermenting sugar instead of burning fat, and those cells were in a diseased state. And this sour kind of smell comes up from the petri dish, and it's white. So they go, oh, it looks like milk, but it smells like sour milk. And maybe they tasted it, or maybe it was sort of solid, like a yogurt type texture. So that's where we got this lactic acid term from. Okay, now lactose is milk sugar. And then we have D-lactate. That's from dysbiotic bacteria in the microbiome. So you have unfriendly, unhappy bacteria in the gut, and they're not healthy. They're fermenting lactate and their waste product is D-lactate. And when you get D-lactic acidosis, you get symptoms like delirium, brain fog, slurred speech, headaches, fatigue. Okay, and then there's L-lactate. So what's the difference between L and D? It's physics. So one of them spins left, the other one spins right. And the molecules are exactly the same. So one of them is healthy, the other one's relatively unhealthy. So the L-lactate is the one that's relatively healthy, and it's from carb metabolism, it's from glycolysis, and it can be used, turned back into what's called pyruvate, which starts the mitochondrial use of oxygen and pyruvate to make energy, which is fine to do that, but the D-lactate, that causes trouble. Okay, now coming up here, lactic acidosis. It's the condition of excess lactate, and I'm talking specifically about the D-lactate and other wastes, plus hydrogen ions, which is the acid, building up in the body, in the blood, crowding out the oxygen, so you have too much waste in the blood, not enough oxygen, and then you get this disease process where the arteries dilate, the circulation slows down, the little tiny capillaries get engorged with blood, the cells they're now starving because they can't accept food, and they can't get rid of their waste because the blood is toxic and hypoxic. So the cells starve, then they die, and it could be cancer, it could be heart disease, whatever. You get the tissues dying, you get the organs dying, then you got body death. So okay, so this is more this is not so clinical. It's more like educational, foundational background information, physiology, chemistry. But I don't know, some of you you're really into this, as I am. But it makes sense. So really, the more you know, the more you know about your body, the better you can deal with it and improve your health. All right, give me a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe and share. Thank you.